The New York Knicks have been linked to Jrue Holiday just one day after he has been traded to Portland. Obviously, the Blazers don't want him. And also, a New York Knick is upset with his current situation. We're going to break all of this down and a little bit more. So welcome back to Knicks Digest, guys. My name is Chris, and we're going to jump right into it as we always do and talk about that. Jrue Holiday is linked to the New York Knicks just one day after he has been traded from Milwaukee to Portland as part of that three-team blockbuster deal that sends Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. And we all know that the Portland Trail Blazers, after drafting Scoot Henderson and trading Damian Lillard, have moved on to a rebuild, and they will not want Jrue Holiday. They are going to try to flip him pretty quickly before the season starts. We know there's going to be a huge market for Holiday. So many teams are going to be interested, and the New York Knicks appear to be one of them. So this is obviously huge news because, as we know, Jrue Holiday is an elite player on the defensive end. And he's also a great offensive player who just affects winning. Let's take a look at these stats real quick for Jrue Holiday, because they're really not bad, and we all know that he's someone who plays way better than what his stats show. 19 points a game, 7.5 assists, 5 rebounds, and then that steal per game. 38% from three, 47% from the field. The guy is a great player, and as we know, it's his defense. We don't see the best of Jrue Holiday through his stats because stats do not show elite defense all the time, and this is one of these cases. Obviously, he did average 1.2 steals per game, but steals do not show the whole story. Jrue Holiday is a menace for guards to go up against. Many NBA players will always say he's the most underrated player in the league. And a couple of years back, around 6-7 years ago now, the New Orleans Pelicans started, I believe, 0-9, maybe like 0-10, 0-11. And then Jrue Holiday, who missed all those games because his wife had recently had a brain surgery, and Holiday was at home watching their newborn, he was not playing. He comes back, and the Pelicans win as many games as they had lost right in a row. And I remember a Bleacher Report article that just started with, "Holy Jrue Holiday." The man just affects winning. The second that the Milwaukee Bucks pulled off that trade, where they traded around 3 first-round picks, Eric Bledsoe, a true real package for Jrue Holiday, they won the finals the next year. So we all know that Jrue Holiday affects winning. We all know that the Knicks are trying to win. Jrue Holiday sort of makes sense then, especially when you look at Tom Thibodeau. And as we see here, the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers are considered two under-the-radar teams that are expected to have at least some level of interest, according to Holiday from Portland, according to ESPN's Zach Lowe. Obviously, the Knicks and the Pacers are not going to be the only teams with interest in Jrue Holiday. If you were trying to play winning basketball, you are probably going to look into Jrue Holiday and see the cost of him. We know that the Trailblazers want to move him before the training camp starts. They don't want to make things complicated. They want to get him out of there, get him to a winning situation. For my money, I do not think this is going to be the New York Knicks, but there is a very good argument for why the New York Knicks might want to trade for him. And Brian Windhorst talks about this. As I would say, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm not going to babble it off while I struggle to read aloud like I'm that kid in middle school. But essentially what Windy is saying here is that the Knicks are in a great position to trade for Holiday because of their tradable first-round picks. They have Evan Fournier's contract, which works very well. And this is one of those trades where the New York Knicks can make a trade for a star and still have the assets to make a second star player trade. And of course, Holiday fits beautifully with Jalen Brunson because he can shoot super well off the catch and shoot at 38%. He's got the elite defense, and Tom Thibodeau would love him. I mean, we all know how Tibbs is with defense. He wants an elite defensive unit. It's why Quentin Grimes starts at shooting guard more than any other reason. It's because he's an elite defender. And if you're Tom Thibodeau, you are always wanting more on-ball perimeter defense, especially when you have Jalen Brunson, who really is not a bad defender by any means, but he's not particularly a good one. He's not who you want to be your best defender in the backcourt. And even now, he's not. It is Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is the best perimeter defender on the Knicks. However, if you can get Jrue Holiday for some reasonable price, then I think you go out there and do it. The issue is, I do not think that the New York Knicks will be willing to give up as much for Jrue Holiday as a team like the Philadelphia 76ers would, who are in a very strange situation, because if you look at that roster, that is an elite roster all the way around, with obviously Joel Embiid, who's the reigning MVP, and as much as his contract makes people think otherwise, Tobias Harris is a fine player. Tyrese Maxey is coming into his own. DeAnthony Melton's a great defender. PJ Tucker is still a really good role player. He's a good defender. He's good for the team's vibe. You got guys like Kelly Oubre off the bench. And as of right now, you still have James Harden, but he doesn't want to be there. So that seems like you can finagle a 3-team trade that gets Harden to maybe the Clippers, where he wants to be, or just anywhere else other than Portland, because obviously Harden would be miserable in Portland for many reasons, as we could probably guess. And the 76ers are obviously no strangers to Jrue Holiday, who spent, I believe, the first 7 years of his career there before being traded for Nerlens Noel on a draft day trade that obviously looks horrible in retrospect for Philadelphia, because Nerlens Noel didn't exactly pan out, and he is currently out of the NBA. And Jrue Holiday's still here, being an elite player who just got traded for Damian Lillard. So, I really don't think the Knicks are going to trade for Jrue Holiday, just because I think there are going to be teams that value him higher, and when there are teams that value him higher for a rebuilding team, you're obviously going to go that way. You're not just going to give him to the Knicks. Like, that would make no sense. We all know that. And I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to end up with a Jrue Holiday reunion for the end of Jrue Holiday's prime. They're contending as long as Embiid is there. Harden might not even show up and play. Knowing James Harden, he might just sit out and hang around, or wear like that heating pad under his uniform that people love to think is a fat suit because they don't do their research. But that is what it is. We're not going to get into the fat suit stuff because I think it's so stupid, and we're also a New York Knicks channel. So, to wrap up the Jrue Holiday situation at hand, we are not getting Jrue Holiday, though he would be nice. If the Knicks can figure out a way to get him for cheap, such as at most one unprotected first-round pick, but hopefully just like, I don't know, a swap or some protections with Fournier and whatever else can make the contract work, that'd be great. But Jonathan Macri did talk about yesterday how essentially with the way the financials work, it's going to be very hard for the Knicks to trade for Jrue Holiday without giving up Julius Randle, which is obviously not happening, or RJ Barrett, and because of that poison pill contract, that's probably not happening either. So this Jrue Holiday stuff, not happening. And in the second half of this video, not even the second half, we're not going to talk about that nearly as much because this is a lot less fun. Evan Fournier is unhappy. That is the entire thing of it all. That is the chapter name, because as we all know, Evan Fournier is unhappy. He's talked about this before, and now he's talked about this again. And it's not that he dislikes the Knicks organization. It's not that he dislikes the Knicks. It's not that he dislikes New York City. It's that he believes he is good enough to be in an NBA rotation. He does not like sitting on the bench, and I think that is fair. I would agree that Evan Fournier is good enough to be in an NBA rotation. First of all, a guy like him just does not fit well into a Tom Thibodeau offense because it's very freelanced, and Fournier would be someone best when people are working to get him open threes. So I think that Evan Fournier does still belong in an NBA rotation somewhere, and I can see why he's upset. I can also see why some Knicks fans, including part of myself, are like, all right, well, also shut up because you're getting paid $18.9 million this season to sit on the bench. I'll gladly take that role from Fournier if he doesn't want it. So, also, I mean, this is what he wanted. He wanted this extra year. If Evan Fournier had his way, the Knicks would have a team option, he would have been a free agent, and he could have left. But he's the one who negotiated to have 3 years with a 4th-year option. But no, that's not what he wanted, because the Knicks wanted to trade that earlier, and he knew that, and he didn't want to get traded. But now he does. So let's very quickly just read into what he was saying in this interview, where he said, I'm still in New York at the moment. I want to leave, but beyond leaving, I want to have the opportunity to get some playing time back. That's all. That's mostly it. Because in New York, I feel extremely good. I love living there. I love the franchise. I love playing in Madison Square Garden. I love the guys on the team. So I just want to play. That's all. It's true that finding another club, changing franchises, if that's what you have to do to play again, that's what I would like to do. You can't really blame him. When you're a good shooter in the NBA who thinks they deserve a roster spot, you're going to go find one. You're going to go try to find one. I have no idea if the Knicks are going to be able to trade Evan Fournier or not. I have absolutely no clue what's going to happen with this. It's a tradable contract that it feels like Leon Rose won't want to waste because that felt like the entire reason they gave it to him. But sometimes things don't work out. We might just see Evan Fournier sit on the bench until the trade deadline, get traded for essentially nothing, or maybe sit on the bench the whole year. Or who knows, maybe Evan Fournier will show up and be really good and not be a complete defensive liability. which is the entire reason why he doesn't play in the first place. I don't know, but I don't see Evan Fournier ending his year with the New York Knicks, and for the sake of him, because I actually really do believe that he does belong in an NBA rotation, just not the New York Knicks rotation. I hope the best for Evan Fournier and his career. I'm not going to hold a grudge against him. And really because that's more of a topic of a guy who doesn't even get playing time for the Knicks, is angry that he doesn't get playing time for the Knicks. There's not really that much to talk about on that subject. So that is going to be all for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. We are going to keep coming up with new content. I know a lot of this is Knicks news right now, just because we're actually getting news for the first time. Damian Lillard getting traded did have an impact on the Knicks. Now there's some Jrue Holiday stuff. It's nice to get back in the NBA news cycle now that training camp is right in front of our faces. I am friends with one of the New York Knicks. He's currently at practice for the New York Knicks. It's coming back. The season is coming back, and I am very, very excited to say that this channel is only going to go up from here. We're going to do so much more. We keep teasing it. Troy and I are going to get on this together. We have more members of the team who you are yet to meet, but are coming soon. And really, everything is just panning out. And once the NBA season starts, we're going to be doing a video every day, sometimes 2 a day. We're going to be pumping out content so much, you guys are not going to know what to do with yourselves. So you don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in, like this video, subscribe for more, and remember, go Knicks.